Welcome everybody. I'm probably going to save the boring intro and just talk about how I feel right now in this room. I had an opportunity to speak to a few people just before, and I think the most magical part about this is social media is numbers on the screen, a few comments, a couple of haters, and it's hard to realize the humans on the other side. And I think this is really cool and really special to take, it's not monetized, but it's like the funnel from the screens and people take out time in their day and come here and have an opportunity to meet one another. And because it isn't monetized, there's no agenda, there's no one trying to sell to each other. And this is the shit we love. Like Jacques and I are incredibly passionate about but strengthening the entrepreneurial landscape of Australia. And it's so fucking cool to see this.
So before we get into what everyone's building right now, I just wanted to go back to the very first startup or entrepreneurial experience that you had. So Jacques, what was the first one you ever had?
At school, I traded Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Anyone remember Yu-Gi-Oh? Yeah. I was like the hottest Yu-Gi-Oh trader in like year 7 and 8. That was like how I bought a PlayStation trading Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Did you?
Yeah.
I literally did not know that.
I actually traded the cards with your mate.
Oh,
do you remember?
Hopefully you did Oh, you did too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's like I dipped my toe. I was like, this is intoxicating. I'm a hustler. I like this. I like card games. So there you go.
My one was power bands. So I was a power band reseller. I don't know if you guys remember those power bands.
Technical difficulties.
I don't know if you guys remember those power bands that I used to sell them. Business was going nuts until there was a news article that came out that said they didn't work, and then it went down the other way after that. But I made some money.
First introduction into media.
Scamming.
I didn't know at the time. Until the article came out, I actually believed it. I used to wear it and go, look, my balance is better. But I was just good at selling.
I think this bad boy is done for, so I reckon
I'll play around with that.
Yeah, you should do it. So what was my first? You know what? Not that exciting. I didn't have any like pre-adventures into the world of entrepreneurial. I didn't do anything like in terms of business at school or anything. It was literally the first one was starting our signboard company. So I don't know if that's a bit lame, but
yeah, just one and
done.
It's the truth. Just a one shot.
Yeah, just a one shot kind of guy. So that's it.
Well, something people might not know is that Franco, you actually started one before Real Hub and sold it before.
Oh yeah. People may or may not know that. So the first business we actually flew to Melbourne to start a signboard and brochure factory outside of a 3-bedroom townhouse we rented for $330 in a place called Croydon. And so after a year, we sold that for 150 grand. So there you go.
There you go. First business, 150 grand. Anyways, any questions from the crowd? Any follow-ups from that? All right, if not, we'll go on to the next one.
No one wants to hear about Yu-Gi-Oh cards? All right, next time.
Everyone wants to know about the current business. So let's get into it. So in terms of right now, what we're building, Jacques, what is the main goal and the main challenge?
Give it to Frank. We did the investor pitch yesterday and I started and Frank just jumped in and just nailed it. So give that one to Frank. He's sharpening his pitch.
Okay, all right, I'll keep sharpening. So our 10-word version is we are building a voice-first AI assistant to high-performing business operators. And so what does that mean? The challenges of building a business is incredible cognitive load, messaging coming from many different applications, and essentially we're trying to build the co-founder to a person to be able to understand their context, their priorities and their goals, and leveraging AI, be able to help them with that. So it's going to be big.
Yeah.
It's going to be scary.
Good, that was nice.
Is that nice?
That's good.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then over to you, Dan, in terms of Reloom.
So we're building... is it me? No. As I mentioned before, so we're building an AI website builder, but I think how we're kind of approaching it is more based off a process of how to achieve an awesome website rather than that one-shot prompt to website. So for us, we're focusing on that process, but also enabling AI to assist along that way. Because we think when you're creating a website, it's just not prompt to output, it's a little bit more of a broken down process as to how you get there. So yeah, focusing on that has been interesting, but it's definitely has its challenges, but I think, yeah, we're going in the right direction, which has been awesome.
Yeah, nice. Any questions from the crowd?
Here we go. That's it.
There we go.
Anthony, when is the system going to be available?
Wait list is open now and hopefully we'll be ready by the end of the year. there's a few big technical challenges we're trying to get through. Yeah. Hiring is one of them. So if anyone knows any smart engineers, like stick around at the end. I need your help.
I wanted to ask, in terms of hiring, between the first business versus now, what are the main differences that you guys have been doing with hiring?
Oh, it's a good question. So hiring is like the make or break for your business, and people in this room hopefully can relate to that. In the early days, you are setting up the foundation for success, and if you don't get it right, your business is failed. It's going to fail. So for us, what we learned through the process of building a business before, a lot of the times you're like begging people to join you. So you're trying to pitch them and what's in it for them. Now, with the way that the world's moving, especially with technology, we're being really slow and deliberate. So our hiring process looks probably 10 times longer and more drawn out than it did before. Because before we were like, we just need anyone to help. Like, I just need someone to help me. Whereas now it's like very careful and considered. And the reason we're thinking like that, I think everyone in this room should think like this, is like, look at what technology is doing. Look what's happening with AI. You can't undo a hire. You can, but it's that awkward conversation. I hired someone because I needed them, and then AI can do these crazy things. So you really need to think about that. We're really conscious of that. So when we bring people in, we want to bring them in for a long journey, not just to help us now. So yeah, very slow, very methodical.
Frank, anything to add on to that?
No, I reckon Jacques nailed it there. I think the key there is for everybody to understand, because it's cool to hear what we're doing, but it's also like, how can we deliver value to you guys? We've seen the other path. So we've seen the 400 team members. We've seen the process of hiring really fast, taking whoever it is. The part that a lot of people here in this room will understand, but a lot of people outside of the world of business don't understand, the literal worst task of a founder is firing people. Like there's Jacques and I, we're not spreadsheet people and be like, we can save some EBITDA, because it's like, no, you're like, that's a family, that's a livelihood. And so the key there is realizing that having those difficult conversations early and like pre-framing that the continuous feedback during that hiring process is actually really important, so that you don't have to go and do short-term decisions which makes long-term pain later. We know what it felt like when we got acquired by Domain. But they said like, okay, Frank, it's time to do a 10% redundancy round. Go on, and then 3 months later, it's time for another 10%, and then 3 months later, things are looking good, let's hire again. Like, that literally sucks. So if you put yourself in the shoes of what that's going to feel like, then that'll help your decision to go, I got to get this right up front.
And talking about getting it right up front, before we move on to Dan, I've been in some of these sessions where you are asking these really good questions during the hiring process, that first interview. What's one question that you ask that really cuts through?
Spicy question.
Yeah,
we have a little spicy question.
Spicy question. So some of these are going to feel really uncomfortable to do, but the uncomfortable is part of the process. When you have someone in your business, things are going to get uncomfortable. So I try to front load that uncomfort in the meeting, like in that first interview. And so one of the key questions I ask is, right towards the end, can you spend a little moment to tell me why I shouldn't hire you? Now that will startle a lot of people in that process. It's like, whoa, but how they react is more important to what they say. So if their body language immediately stiffens up, they just get super stressed and they like almost get annoyed at you, well, what's it going to look like when something actually happens in our business and there's actual stakes at front? Or if someone has humility and they say, which is, most often what's happened to Jacques and I, it's like, these are the reasons. And you're like, those are really good reasons, because they have the humility to realize why they shouldn't. And that's more around finding out their character than what actually the answer is.
Yeah, awesome. And then on to you, Dan. So how big is the team now at Reloom?
So 25.
Yeah, 25 people. So what's helped you scale to 25 people?
Yeah, I guess it's interesting. So we talk about these challenges all the time. In our scenario at the moment, and whoever's got a startup would probably understand, is that we are hiring engineers who are getting offers and competition. No, it's me, isn't it?
Yeah.
Insane amount of competition, right? So for example, if we want to hire an engineer from Canva or whatever it is, the pay packets are huge. So the competition is high. So when we're making a hire, I know we're probably just talking about specifically engineers. They're the main ones we're hiring at the moment. just engineers. And so yeah, so you've got to make sure the bet that you're making, let's say it's a 250K, 300 bet, is going to add that value to your business. So that's the constant challenge, I guess, for us, is just to making sure that this investment that we're making to this person, because there's an insane amount of competition for them, we've got to make sure that they're actually going to add that value to your business. So yeah, that's kind of like being what we're focusing on. We're focusing on seniors.
Amazing.
We're focusing on seniors only at the moment. Like that's our strategy. That's our thing we were talking about the other day. Like we're going to trade two juniors for one senior. So yeah, our strategy and focus is seniors only, because we've got to build some foundational things. How that plays out, we've got to kind of adjust for it as the company grows. But yeah, that's kind of how we're approaching across the board, whether or not it's for designers, engineers, and also in other departments like growth and support. We're trying to aim for seniors, and then we will aim to kind of fill underneath that as the company grows. But we're taking the bet that investing into seniors and above is what's going to help us build kind of that momentum and foundation, so we can then hire underneath when we're ready.
Can I add a quick overlay?
Yeah.
Do you mind? So one of the things I'm really conscious of, and what we love about the Founders Table, is we are not a specific community. So like we're not just e-com, or we're not just tech. We are a collection of businesses that in a room don't make sense together, right? And so when we talk, what's really important to understand through some of the work that I've done with advisory that I've done. So I've done work where with, let's say, a real estate company. Then I've done work with tech AI company, then I've done work with a renewable energy doing solar and battery farm. The thing I learned was business is a series of building blocks, and although they're not the exact same context, i.e. hiring engineers, those building blocks remain true across sectors. So when you hear us talk, let's say specifically about something like hiring senior engineer, it's just to replace that in your mind to senior talent or an A player, because that's what we're talking about. The idea being, like, the concept is hiring A players because those attract other A players.
Yeah, awesome. Any questions from the crowd?
Yes.
Come on, let's go.
Where's the crowd mic?
Tali, you got it?
Who's on crowd work?
Okay, I'll give this to you for now.
Cheers, thank you, Sam here. As someone who's had to offboard someone quite recently, difficult conversation, I realised that they had the credentials and the experience, but they actually lacked the culture that was in the workplace. I guess for you guys, when you're making that hire, what's more important? A bit of a great question, yes, but how do you approach that?
So us, we're big on culture, especially in the early days. Things change depending on your stage. In the early days, if you don't set the culture right, let's just say you have 5 employees and you hire one bad apple, that's 20% of your business is bad apples, right? So culture is probably the biggest thing I'd say we index on, and then skills obviously can be taught. There's a lot of context and experience, but if you don't get that first culture piece right, they spoil the rest.
Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you.
There we
There we
go.
go.
There we go.
We love the crowd communication.
This is like super echo.
You got the effect.
Yeah, just talk loud. You'll be all right.
It's a bit of a two-parter. First is when you're talking about like bringing on foundational staff, what are like 2 or 3 of the top qualities that you're looking for in those individuals? And then second part to that is what you talk about culture and like establishing and building culture. What are like some of the practical steps you guys are taking to build that and foster that culture?
Love that. Love that. Good question. So the two-parter, I'm going to tackle the second part first. Like, this is a really great example. So Jacques and I did a job interview about 3 weeks ago. We left that job interview and we're like, this person is great. But now the team is about 5 of us. And so now we're at this place where, well, our opinions matter, but the reality is, like, we need to work as a collective because we're adding this person into a collective. So then we had that person come back. They spent the day. And then we sat back in the room and we said, team, how are we going? And everybody said, no, thank you. And
we weren't in the room, so we left. We said, the kids can play. Let's see how you guys interact. And
and they just said, like, and it was like not, obviously not being rude and stuff like that. It was just like that. They were like, it's not going to work. And so for us as leaders, like, we can have an authoritarian approach and be like, oh, that's really cute, but no. No, that's the way we want this. Or we're going to go, okay, if we want to build a culture is a collective of people. Like, it's not one person is the culture. It's the amalgamation of all the different personalities. And that's a way to essentially, like, as a crew, make a decision. And sometimes that's annoying and hard because you're like, oh, but I thought that'd be great because they were like, intellectually smart, but didn't work out. So that's one really practical step. Another one was what we did at RealBase. So we were setting our values as a new merged entity. We as founders can say, this is our values. And all of a sudden, 400 people, you have to believe in this thing. Well, like, it's not really how it works. So instead what we did is we went like, here are the values that we feel aligned to, and we had a series of 10, and then we allowed as a collection, everybody kind of voted what do they feel closest to. And so then the end output, they've contributed into something. And I think this is the key to a culture. If you want a culture of interdependency, so one that is not reliant on the founders, you need to have people who are contributing to the culture. Because if it's just like Jacques and I are saying, this is how it is, it'll always feel us and them, not as a collective. You had the first part there was like, what was the first part of your question?
Like, what are some of the 2 or 3 qualities that you're looking for when you're bringing people into the business?
Yeah, so and I think this is very specific to Jacques and I, because like what's important to us is not going to be important to everybody else. For us, like number one is like you're a believer. So what does that actually mean is like when you come in here into our business, like you are so excited for the opportunity and you're so excited to create something, because that's like that kind of person is malleable because they're enthusiastic at the mission that we're doing. Because if someone comes in and they don't believe, well, like it's just never going to work. The next is understanding like the pace. Like pace is a really important one. People can start to get a sense of that as I talk.
I just had one overlay here. Frank judges people by how fast they walk, so that's the kind of pace. It's in everything. He's like, they didn't walk really that fast, though, did they? So maybe we should think about that. So pace in everything. Speed of speaking, pace in thoughts and how you can execute, and also how fast you walk, apparently is really important. So just thought I'd add that.
Like pace is critically important. And why is that? Is like if we reflect on our journey of the 10 years, just our ability to make decisions quick is a compounding effect. So the reason that a small startup can have a crack at a big corporate is because the big corporate's like decision cycle is 7 months. Well, before you've made a decision, we've made the decision and iterated 10 times on it. And even if it was the wrong decision, we're moving at momentum, because pace creates momentum, and momentum is like intoxicating.
Awesome. Can I just add one sort of like overlay to like how we judge people as well? There's like a big like kindness vibe that we're going for as well. We're going for like a type of person that has a low ego. So we don't want people that have egos. Openness to learn is a big one. Like we just had a job interview with a dude that I can only describe as a literal genius, like PhD. I could list all the things.
Just describe one thing, because it's fucking crazy.
I can't even remember it. Like so judo expert, PhD, physicist, works on dark matter. He can play the guitar. He runs ultra marathons. Like literally everything. But he's like, look, I'm not the smartest guy, but I think I can figure it out. He just has this humility, and I'm like sitting there going, bro, I don't even. Are you real? Like, are we in a simulation right now? Are you a real person? But it's just the humility to not be like, well, I'm this genius. Like, I'm going to tell you what's what. It's like he was like, oh, I'm not that good at the business side of things. That's why I want to like come into this environment. And we're like, well, that's exactly the type of person. It's humility. You're open to learn.
Oh, that was a good overlay, Jacques.
That was good.
Woo!
One thing
Yeah, go ahead.
is experience is really important for us for like these senior or above, but making sure that they've had a combination of, I guess, top companies, but also startups. Right? So one thing we fucked up massively, had a gun who came in just from Google, right? I'm like, oh, this is the best. 7 years at Google, whatever it was. But then they came into a startup and they're like, well, but back to Frank's point about pace, like they didn't even know, but it was okay because they never actually knew what a startup pace was. So when I was like, oh, like this could have been done in a day, not 4 weeks, like that's shocking to them. So yeah, I just think one thing to be, when you're building your foundational team, make sure they've got a good combination of startup experience, so they know how to be scrappy, but they've also experienced what it's like to be at the top, or like whatever it is to be in a high performing team, because they understand about scale. So then they become the person that can grow with you, right? And they can scale with your team. So when your team goes to 100, if it does, then you know they know what to do there, but then you also know that when it's just 10 of you, they're not gonna like have no idea what to do.
Love that.
Yeah, love that. We got time for one more question before we go into the next one. Yep. Do you want to? I'll bring it over. Here you go.
That wasn't a joke.
Hi, I'm Chantal. I had a question around leadership. So from your guys' perspective, when times are tough, then obviously business is always peaks and troughs. So during the most challenging times, what's one piece of advice you have for founders in their startup journey, how to inspire and motivate the team around you when you're not kind of feeling the most motivated yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
I feel ya.
Without faking it.
No, that's right. Yeah.
yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story so you can get a sense of like been there. So last business towards the kind of the final year of the acquisition. If anybody's heard me talk about it, it's like was the worst but most rewarding year of my life. I was stressed out of my mind. I've only got one photo from that entire year, and it's me in front of a Zoom, and obviously it was an accidental screenshot. And I'm like so sad. Like you see the soul leave my eyes. Anyway, and I asked my assistant, and I go, "Hey, Maddie, I'm feeling a bit stressed. Like, can you tell if I'm stressed?" And I'm calling her, and she looks through, and she goes, "Frank, your office is glass, obviously." Like, and I went like, I probably shouldn't have come in. And so here's the deal, right? Like, there is a certain element, from my opinion, that as a founder and as a leader and as your business grows, there is a certain amount of sheltering that happens. And the reality is, like, in these early days of business, of team, like, you are the energy in your business. And so if you walk in and your energy is off, your business energy is off. Like, that's just the truth of the matter, because people will feel that, like, anxiety, that stress, that freaking out. And so, like, sometimes there is a bit of masking that happens. But it's also important to understand is like what you do prior to the stressful times is really critical to how you navigate through stress. So prior to the stressful times, like one of the things we did badly last time is we were too much of a shelter. So myself, Jacques, and Ken in the early business, like we would be in the room stressing out, everything's going to implode, and we'd open none of it. We'd have no transparency, and then we'd go out to the room and be like, "Hey, yeah, the business is great." So the moment something bad happens, people are like, "Wait, what the fuck? Like I thought we were doing good." And you're like, "No, things are bad." And so it's far better, and like what Jacques and I are doing now is bring people on for the journey. Like business is very different to what it once was. All good. Talia's like, boring, Frank. Next. So you bring. Love that task. You bring people along for the journey more, and so you kind of you're opening your world up to the excitement, to the like what's on the horizon, and sharing things like so. Jacques and I just did with the crew at the Founders Table is like on Friday is like a strategy session to go like here's where we're going. And one of the things I said to them is like, guys, Jacques and I. Over the last 3 weeks, I was away, but we've both been feeling the sense of like anxiety, stress, energy, and we're in the kill zone with our new product to these big players. And I just want to share that because why is that important? Because the intensity, we need to crank it up. And so like that to some people might be like, whoa, that's a bit much, but it's like, well, that's real, that's raw. And like we're all in this, like we're all going into battle together. And that means when you're in the stressful times, it's not a big shock to people. And so then you can be a bit more kind of like open to kind of go, hey, this is what's happening. Because through the stress, you can rally people up. Like you can rally your team around that. There was what was that thing yesterday? The looking for, never mind. The concept is just like, like when you're going into battle, like you can rally people around that and then they can be inspired. But if they don't know, like you're on your own.
Yeah. All right, just want to get a quick show of hands. Wait, one more question. We got one last question.
Love that.
Lucky last, so there you go,
Start
Tyler.
with a show of hands.
Thank you, Chantal.
Thanks, Frank.
Just had a question around like when you're going into battle and it's like stressful.
Yeah.
How do you sort of maintain your even keel? Like, because obviously there's an optimal, like if everything's optimal, you have your whoop, you're tracking all the stuff.
Yeah.
87% recovery, but who's asking? It's
Horrific.
Yeah. How do you sort of manage that with like you just need it like I'm ridiculous amount of output, you know what I mean? Like talks about this. How do you find the balance there where like this just has to get over the line?
There is no balance. That is the truth. It's seasons, right? It's phases. There's intensity. What you'll find in this journey, the things that absolutely broke us 2 years ago are laughable now. And that's the whole process, right? Like the stress, like if I'm not getting fucking sued, nothing can stress me out anymore. And that's the truth. Like in the moment, back in the day though, like anything, a $200 mistake stressed me out. And you've just got to understand that that's part of the process. And going through it all, it's like, oh, that is literally the game. And you learn then to get to a point of like, you thrive in stress. It's actually what you want. When things aren't stressful, I'm like, something's wrong. We're not doing enough, because it's only when things are like, you feel like they're gonna fucking break, that's when you're actually doing like what you need to be doing and you're going the right direction. So again, it's like, it's a temperament thing. Like I try and balance as much as I can with exercise now. That's a big lesson for me. If I can exercise on the side of the day as well, I'm going to be 30% less anxious for the rest of the day. If I don't exercise, I'm like, let's get some caffeine to me, and I'm jittery and I'm stressing out. So I just try to have like at least one pillar of like, normalize this. Let's normalize this with exercise. And that's like the best tip I can give you is like try and have something that you can de-stress with. Yeah.
Well, like, sorry, just a little question. Like in terms of like time output wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like obviously stress is like, it's really one of those things where it's like in the mind and you can manage that.
Yeah.
But then there's obviously an output that has to be there. Like I need to achieve these things.
Yeah.
It needs to be done in set time.
Yeah.
It's like you guys, like competitors are going to be coming for you.
Yeah.
How do you then like manage your own time? So you're like, this is the maximum output
Yeah.
that I can personally give, and then the rest just has to be kind of like to chance. Not chance, but you know what I mean?
100%. And so this comes back to this concept. It's like what you do when you're out of a season, you're out of that stressful period, and how that helps you when you're in the stressful period. I believe you should hope to achieve, and what we try to do is like run at that kind of not hourly velocity, so not the 16-hour, 20-hour days all the time, but run at that speed and pace in the time as often and as frequently as possible. So kind of put yourself in that state where you're just trying to do as quickly and fast as possible. And that's one of the things we teach the team. I'll tell you a story. So I asked Greeff, he's been in the business for 1 week, and I say to Greeff, what is something you didn't expect for working with us compared to what you're experiencing? And he said, Frank, I realized you told us you work fast, but I didn't realize what that meant, because every time you go to the bathroom, you're almost running. Because it's like, yeah, because I'm trying to do that because I'm trying to get back to the thing as quickly as possible. Now, that doesn't mean I'm working till 12 p.m. at nighttime. Like Jacques and I, we leave at 3:15 each day so we can pick up my son from daycare. But it's just like having that like kind of level of intensity and shortening the time horizon. What I find is really critical in these early days of business is people will think about something for way too long. And I'll give you an example. So, if someone will go like, I need to find customers. So even though I'm not a salesperson, I'm going to do some cold calling, I'm going to reach out. And so they'll pick up the phone, they'll make a call, and then they'll get off the phone and they go, oh man, I don't like cold calling. And they'll go, oh, let me grab a tea. And they'll go get a tea and they'll come back. And before you know it, they spend like 7 hours doing like 4 things. And right, so you want to like shorten the time horizon between decision and action and compound that. And that I think will then prepare you for those moments when you're in the season. Yeah, you're going to have to do longer hours, but now your longer hours are filled with intensity.
Any overlays there?
No,
all good? All good.
Basically,
Okay,
number one thing is exercise. Just fucking get out there as much as you can. That reduces 80% of your anxiety half the time.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so today is called How to Crush as an Aussie Founder. So I just wanted to get show of hands in the room. Who here is an Aussie founder? There we go. Love that. What a room, what a room. Okay, so in terms of that theme, what is something that people get wrong about starting a business in Australia?
I think the biggest thing I've learned about starting a business in Australia is it is such a psychological battle. We're South African and then we moved to New Zealand. I didn't understand this concept of tall poppy, and I didn't understand what the other battles you're fighting that aren't even related to business. Where people at a barbecue are like, oh, you guys install signboards, that's random. And you're like, oh, my fucking life, that's all I'm doing. And like and how hard it is to actually connect with people. Like, that's why we put these things on. It's like, how hard it is to find people that speak your language. And like, once you get in a room with people that are on the same journey, you're like, yeah, fuck yeah, I love that. What are you doing? I met with that dude, that guy told me these things. And it's like, things just speed up and they get easier. And that was like the thing I think is like, what's missing in Australia starting a business is the culture around like, you're starting a business, that's actually crazy, that's actually cool. It's more like, oh, you sure you're gonna do that? You guys are gonna get crushed by Google. Like, You know what I mean? Like it's these constant little psychological attacks that it's unfortunate, but people then stop. They don't try. They stop before like they even give it a go. And I think that's like the biggest challenge for anyone in Australia starting a business in today's age. It's just like you've got to do the fucking business, which is hard enough, and then you've got all this external stuff. If we could fix that, I think we'd have a much better environment, and we'd have more people crushing.
Preach. I got another add to that. That's good. The question is, just starting.
So what's one thing people get wrong about starting a business in Australia?
Honestly, I reckon Jacques summed that up and nailed it. And I think there's nothing more I need to add to that. All I'd say is like that is why we've created the Founders Table. Like that is a huge part of it. Is like we believe we're in a really fortunate position to have a material impact and change, and it becomes a flywheel. Like once you start to change that and you create communities like this, and it's a no agenda, and people aren't coming here to be like trying to get like a one over, and create a place that's like an environment where people feel comfortable to share. You know, like sharing. You know, one of the things for us at the Founders Table we say at the start, when it's a group of 8, is like share your numbers. And you can tell like people, like a lot of people in Australia, like they're getting a bit nervous because they like feel like if I'm sharing my numbers, then I'm trying to like show how great I am. I'm like, no. It's like because we just get how hard it is. And so people will leave because they say, oh, I've been in business for 3 years, I'm doing 12 million, and everybody's clapping. We're at lunch and everybody's clapping, and it's like, and they leave and they send us texts and to Jacques and I, they're like, I've never felt more seen and heard, like because I can never say that to my friends because it's like they're like, what are you trying to say to me? And like that's the shit that like really fires us up. That's special.
Do you want like some technical challenges for starting a business in Australia? We've gone like real emotional there. Sorry, guys. I was just speaking from the heart.
Well, we could also take a bit further and actually talk about what are things that is actually good about starting business in Australia that people don't see.
Yeah, I love that one. So one thing is like when I go to the US, you're in this Silicon Valley bubble, and there's so much information, right? So a lot of noise, signals, whatever it is. I think one of the incredible things about building a company here in Sydney, Australia, is that you kind of shielded away from a lot of that noise from the US. So I don't know who the next AI website builder is. There's probably one happening right now, and there's probably another one happening in another hour. So I don't know about that, and that's good because I think for me it allows us to focus on the product and go deep into what we think is right, and not get caught up in 1,000 distractions that can happen every day. Another company's raise another 100 million, whatever it is. So I think being in Australia is so good for that. And the other thing as well, which is awesome, is that if you can crack the US from Australia, it's beautiful, that US dollar. But no,
Must be nice.
What the best part is, yes, the US dollar is good, but it shows that if you can get distribution from here over there, it shows that your product is doing a good job. Like it's cutting through the noise. And if you can do that, you're starting off from a harder point, but if you can prove it and get some actual distribution in the US or Europe, it just shows that you've got product market fit and you build something that's fucking good. So I love it. It was harder to build in Australia. It is not by any means I'd say something that it's super easy. It does raise the bar of quality, but I think once you get it, it's so good. It pushes you to another level.
Love that. That's good. Oh, I had a little overlay it was an interesting insight that Jacques and I had yesterday. We were doing the rounds of the venture capital, and the partner there said something that I'd never thought of. He said, one of the best parts about building a business in Australia and hiring is how team members or employees are a bit different to how they're in America. In America, it's very transactional, is what he said, because obviously they've got plenty of companies there, where it's like they'll come there, look for equity, a point in time, you're a transactional stepping stone to the next one, where Australian, you have that opportunity for like loyalty. And I think we never thought about it, but like we're a byproduct of that because we've had people who were, in our last business started as a signboard installer, became a material shareholder and ended up being like a head of product and design and stayed from us from day one to the end of the journey. And like that's really, really cool because I think that's, you can never underestimate the power of the right people in your business. Like if I can leave with one thing on that sentence is every problem in your business can be solved by the right person.
Boom.
Boom. Love that. Any questions from the crowd? Yes. Yep.
Hi again.
Hello.
In terms of the US market, like, I know it's dependent on the industry, but for someone that's in kind of the beauty space where it's very saturated, would you have a take on when to kind of approach going into the US market? Bear in mind, I'm only like a couple of months in, but obviously it's so like lucrative to people cracking that market. Everyone's opinions are different. Wait until you really cemented your fan base in your homegrown country. Some people are like, just go for it.
Good question. So one of the cool things about some of the e-com founders we've met through the process of Founders Table is a lot of them have said, building a business in Australia, the market is small, the competition is hard, and so it's kind of like building business in hard mode. Why I say that's cool is because you're sharpening your sword and you're getting very good at something, and therefore you're kind of doing it in the stealth of here, and then that allows you, when you go across, to say in the words of a recent founder, it's like doing business on easy mode. And so my recommendation, if I thought about that for myself, is like, if you're a couple of months in, there are so many things you first want to learn and prove and strengthen in yourself before adding the noise and the distraction of going into another place. And then I would look to, who else has done that. And so there's a few cool people that we've met that have done that, I believe Rachel Wild, TBH has made its way there. I believe Annabelle Clutch Glue has made her way
Sophie's
there.
done it too.
Sophie Hood, she's just recently moved over for Soul Tonic. So there's proven examples. So that's what this is all about, is like trying to find those people, connect them, and then find out like how can, through a couple of conversations, learn that what's the cut through.
Oh yeah, you can just pass
love
around.
it.
Perfect.
Yeah, now it's
There we go.
Hi, I'm Nicole. I had a business for 5 years now, and I've actually, as a little layer onto that, opened my own bridal brand. So I'm looking at now launching that, and I'm going to obviously have the exclusive for Australia, so people are coming to me for it. I was thinking of launching one store in America and one store in the US, so everyone can basically fly to them. But I'm very much like you. I like moving really fast, much to my GM's absolute horror. Every time I have an idea, I'm like, we're doing this. And she's like, okay, cool, I'll do some numbers. I'm like, 7 days. So I'm very keen to get moving like really quickly, get it out to as many stores as possible so I can start getting some real revenue coming in from that secondary business. But I'm also very cautious that it's my first time doing distribution for a clothing brand, and it's bridal, so it is a lot of higher emotions, a lot longer lead time, a lot more complicated. Would you suggest kind of trying to take it easy-ish, slow-ish, and only do sort of like your 2 test stores, like one in America, one in London, and sort of feeling out all the errors that are going to come through with my first time actually distributing, because I run my own store, so I'm the one that's bringing designers in, I'm selling to my brides, and I know how all that runs, but when I'm actually not the one in control, and the store's running things and they're sending orders wrong, or wedding dates are changing and I have no control over what they're doing, would you suggest it's better starting a little bit slower, doing a test, 6 months to 12 months, working out any kinks, and then going hell for leather, or would you just go hell for leather?
That to me, I can quickly answer that one. That would scare the shit out of me in terms of going hell to leather for that. It's the series of uncontrollables that you don't have,
Always in control of my business and everything I do, and I have so many buffers built in because bridal is such a emotional time, and I always under promise, over deliver. So I'm always making people happy, always putting things in early. But I just know a lot of other people don't have the standard that I run to, which scares me.
Yeah. So I would be.
It's my name that the bride.
Yeah.
Are they going to be pissed off at me that the dress is late when it's the store that hasn't navigated it?
Yeah, I'd be looking at only entry. Like every new market, it comes with new challenges. Like just in like America, it's like from what I've heard is like the states are different. So you want to rather than multiple countries, I would try and reduce the number of variables I have to work with to figure out, okay, does this work? So is the concept of a store somewhere else internationally, does that work? And then once I've proved that, then start to expand and increase the variables from there.
The test was just one store, one country first.
I think so.
Yeah. And are you planning to move to America as well?
No.
Okay, so that's going to be the big testing ground.
I'm not going to be opening another. So
Yep.
I'm Ivory Bridal in
Yep.
Sydney, which is a multi-brand bridal boutique, and then I've opened Montaigne Bridal, which is my own design center. connections.
Yes.
So like Kaya, if anyone who's familiar with Kaya, they've amazing story that she's done. She's actually opened her own store in Melbourne. She then opened her second store in Sydney flagship, and then now she's gone out and she's got like 83 stores worldwide.
Wow.
Where she's in multi-brand stores.
Wow.
So it's actually not her store.
Yeah, cool.
She's just, it's like Gucci and YSL
Yeah.
and David Jones.
Yeah,
So
wow.
we've got the multi-brand store, which run everything,
Yeah.
but you're just supplying dresses.
Yeah, cool.
So,
okay.
really what you're doing is you're testing two things. How does your store run without you, right? As being like the main influence, make sure everything's going the way you want it to go. That's like test number one, and that's really hard to do. You see people fall down when they do two stores because they're not there, and then the employees just fuck it up. So that's like, how does that look? And then when you've nailed that, well, yeah, you've got like a copy paste. So there's like, you want to reduce the amount of like, was it the country that we're in, or was it the fact that you weren't there? You don't know that answer. So you want to know, like Frank said, reduce the variables, figure it out, and then it's like, okay, now I can add another variable in, which is EU or some other crazy thing that we don't know about. So that's how it's approach that. We run out of mics.
I think we had one more question over there.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You snuck in. Oh.
I've just got one question. Just around when you're first starting your business, building your idea and trying to get that product to market fit, how do you make people care about it as much as you do? That's probably the biggest challenge.
That's the hardest thing.
And the biggest question I've got right now. How can you translate that passion?
Yes. You're a professional hype man. That's what you do when you start a business. You're trying to hype up employees, you're trying to hype up investors. If you go down the investor route, you're just trying to take all this energy inside of you and transfer it. And that is literally the full-time job. Because if people don't care, they're not going to do a good job. So really what you want to, this is like part of the hiring process, is like, are you a believer in what I'm trying to sell here? I'm selling you a dream. And you're using that same energy, like we're using that same energy to sell to investors. So really like that energy is transferable. It's like toxic positivity about the mission. And people can see, like, I'm just excited because you're fucking excited. It's like a transfer of that energy. But it is the most important thing. We say drinking the Kool-Aid. People are like, that's a bit of a rogue reference, but it's like you want to get people that drink the Kool-Aid because you can turn anyone. Like our first employee was a signboard guy. He left our business a multi-millionaire because he believed in the mission, and he was there when things were hard. He was doing things out of his job description, and it was like you're just a mission-driven person, and then like I can throw any job at you, you're going to crush it. And so like that is the most important thing, is like getting that to across the line, and that gets translated through your energy at the end of the day.
And when it comes to projecting that externally, it's like your end user or end consumer, how do you kind of keep that same internal view, outward?
Yep. Yeah, that one's really cool, because for us, Adam and I, my co-founder, we always try to put our face to whatever we're launching. So like you can exuberate that enthusiasm through a video explaining a new feature, right? And then when I do a launch or we do a new feature, we do a live stream, for example, when we launch a new feature, and you can hear Adam talk about, and I love how I can drop this, drag this, put this in, and look at this, look at how this does this. So you can build that connection. Like I would 100% advocate that you should be the face of your brand. I always be the face behind your brand, because then that builds a connection to you and your customer, and they can see it, they can feel it, and they love it. And the other thing is build that, what I started off with is build a community around your product, right? So we build a Slack channel that goes with the product. So if you join Reelam, you also, we push you to join this community. And then that's also a channel for you as a founder to communicate to those people who really care. Because if they join your Slack channel, they care about what you're doing. So just be the face of your brand. I take DMs, like 10 DMs a day from clients who sign up. And I'm just honest with them, and I just talk to them. I go back and forth, and it's, they can feel that. They can feel that enthusiasm when you're open to being the face of your brand.
And Dan, a user in the Slack channel ended up actually joining the team at Reelam, right?
Oh yeah, it's a great source of finding new people. We've hired 3 people from our Slack community into the team, and they love Reelam, right? And I didn't have to convince them. They've already seen me talk about it. They've seen my head everywhere. So yeah, they were convinced enough to join.
Awesome.
Hello. I got told Poppy on my couch the other night. It was awful. So I'm Canadian, built 2 companies in Canada, moved to Australia 7 years ago, got into health tech, medicinal cannabis, direct to patient, direct to consumer. I had to move into a startup after I sold my last business here because I needed to get my visa. So I just got my PR.
Woo!
So I can actually, I bought an investment property, and I'm working now. The startup got acquired by a big corporate. And so I've been working in that big corporate for the last year and a half after the acquisition, and my soul is crushed.
Oh, yeah.
You
guys know.
What my question is that, as soon as I got my PR, it's like, oh my gosh, the potential is now. I can go build again, and that's what I need to do. But I was excited. I was the most excited I've ever been. And I pitched this idea for another women's focused health tech to someone I really respect and who's very smart. And she just went, that's going to be a long exit. I don't know, there's a lot of, have you heard of this and this and this? They're actually doing something similar. And we got on the computer, and in that instant, I was like, fuck. And 5 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, whatever, and just done it. I would not have listened. But I wonder, and maybe I need to go to a therapist to understand this, and not you guys, but I wonder if it's because I have the cushy corporate salary and getting a little bit older, and I think, well, maybe I should just play it safe. So what would you do?
I left the corporate. We were the same. We got acquired, and I could not live in that environment. So I can definitely empathise with you there. I think when it comes to feedback about ideas and stuff, you've really got to look for signals over the noise, right? Like people are going to say like random shit, like, oh, that already exists, or this person does it, or aren't you going to get rolled by these people? So what you've got to really do is like find the conviction in your idea, and then if people have good points, like, or there's probably like a few degrees of change that you can take it to a slightly different direction and it's unique. So I think the corporate thing, it depends on what do you actually get joy out of, right? Like I'm doing business, I don't need to do this. Like I could retire, but I just love it. I just love solving puzzles, and that's kind of the reason you do a startup. It's this crazy energy. There's so many things going on. There's so many challenges. So you really got to figure out like, do I want to do that again? Is that what's going to light my fire? Is this idea an idea that I can like really get behind? And could I do this for 5 or 10 years? And does the money just not matter? Really, because you don't want to do something where like I want to exit in a year, because you're doing it kind of for the wrong reasons. So you've got to figure out for yourself, and I'm like in the exact same position as you, right? Like it's exactly the same. Like I've gone through the process. Do I want to do that again because I enjoyed it? There's shit that I didn't enjoy, but at the end of the day, like to keep me going and excited, and in rooms like this, there's so much that a startup can offer you. And that was like the decision I made was like, well, I just love that. And you find your reason, you find your why, and then it's just like everything falls into place.
Do we have any more questions before we move on? Oh, there we go.
There we go. We're warming up.
She's gone.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah.
Refund on these mics, mate.
Yeah.
Test. Yeah, we're on.
I've got a question about content. I think we touched on it briefly, but I'm a solo founder, and it was a post that
Great, mate.
put out just the other day.
Relatable, just trying out I'm in my relatable era.
I watched it just at the moment, and I was really freaking out and stressed about the whole concept of like context switching.
Yeah.
Creative versus trying to build and solve problems.
I feel you, dog.
And it's really hard, and I don't know how much time to put into prioritizing content.
Yeah.
So I know how valuable it is. And I don't also have other concerns about whether or not the content goes out from founder account versus brand account. How to distinguish that type of thing, and it's tough. And I don't know, how to prioritize it.
Love that. I feel you, brother. I got you. Don't worry. Okay, so based on the post, I thought about it a lot, but I can only share so much in 35 seconds before everybody goes fucking boring and scrolls, you fuckers. So this is a good opportunity to go deep. So here's my personal opinion. Something is better than nothing. So something is better than nothing. If you have a choice, 2 pathways, black and white binary, do or don't, I'm choosing do. But then you go, okay, well, how do I optimize? And so where I've landed personally is I've gone, what we were doing is 5 days a week, and it was the first task in the morning. The content was the first task in the morning. Why? Because it was like my creative brain was fresh. I was feeling good. I'm like, let's go. And then it was like, first was an hour a day, and then it was 2 hours and 3 hours. And I was like, fuck, something has got to give here. And so where I've landed is gone, okay, it needs to be time boxed. it can't be every day, and I can't do it the first thing in the morning because like now like the priority shift, the goal shift. So now like Jacques and I are disgustingly focused on getting our app out. That has become the number one priority. So the energy I use in the morning has to be on the number one task. And so my shift has been like, okay, I will personally, it's like I'm doing it in the afternoon, and I'm doing it in like, I've given myself 30 minutes, and it's only once every like 2 days. And then by creating that time box and whatever the time makes sense to you, it then means like I have no choice but to get it done in the time that is allotted. And I find that is one of the most important things. Is like when you put something in a box, you go, I must deliver it in this. A lot of the shit kind of, you remove a lot of the stuff. Like the idea of like, oh, it's not perfect. Well, it doesn't matter because if it's not perfect, I can't keep going because the time, I'm only allowing this time, so it's got to go. And again, something is better than nothing. So if you just take the approach of like, just condense it down to the smallest amount of time you can give it, that can still find that middle ground, then you'll be fine. Is my personal opinion, and then find if you find that spot where it just creatively kind of works for you, not like in that critical time. Because like the true reality is like doing the thing, building the business, what I touched on that piece of content, like that is the most important thing. Like we could have like 100 million impressions, and then it's like, but we have no product. So like what was the reason and the intent that I started? Is to become famous? No, I have no desire to do that. The reason is to make a mark, change Australia, and have a launch pad for our business. We got to have the business first. Hopefully that helps. See, everybody would have swiped away at 17 seconds.
Where's your visual hook?
Yeah.
Question for Dan. Was the product Reloom, was it that good that agency owners would approach you directly? Or what was your like sort of way to acquire more agency partners, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, of course. So our focus was product-led. So when you go to Reloom, we put a lot of emphasis on the onboarding side of things. So when you signed up, we didn't have to handhold them through that process. So when agency approached, introduced a trial, that kind of got them hooked, and obviously that's when they become a paying subscriber. So being really intentful in the product onboarding experience is what we focused on in the early stages, because that's what we thought would be able to allow us to scale to thousands, right? And instead of us being on calls for every single agency. Yeah, so just there's two different approaches: sales-led, product-led. Being more intentful on each one is something you have to consider when you're building a product. Like, do I have to scale this with sales-led team, or can I scale this with product-led? We chose that path.
One quick one. How did they find you? Was that through content or through?
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, good question. So back to the question before. I was on YouTube videos creating content. Adam and myself were really open in the content side of things, and that was the biggest driver of awareness for us, and also leveraging a lot of the agency influencers. So there's a lot of people who talk about, hey, these are the best tools to work with. So the classic creator play, right? That drove a lot as well. So combination of internal content from the founders as well as leveraging creators, that just took shit to another level.
Great question.
Okay, so on to the next question. I wanted to contrast bootstrapping with raising. So I know that Dan started 14 businesses, raised with some of them. Frank and Jacques on the first business bootstrapped it, but this time around we're looking to raise. So I just want to get into the psychology of when do you know when you should bootstrap or when you should raise?
Want me to answer? How long do you guys want?
17-second hook, brother.
I think what you've got to think about is what is the best thing for you and your business in the moment in time. So what can I do with raising where I can get the best deal, right? So I'm not out there begging for money. I'm in a good enough position, which is like I've bootstrapped it to a certain point that money's being offered to me. So you've got to kind of understand there's trade-offs. So bootstrapping is slow. Everything is a money decision. You fight about the minuscule, but you learn incredible discipline with money. You're not buying chrome pandas. You're not doing random ass things that these tech companies do because they raise millions of dollars. So there's that side, which is extremely useful, But at the same time, when you want to move with speed, which is what we're doing now, it's like, what does it look like to supercharge your business? Like, what does it look like to add? We can add so much capital. What can we do if we tip in even more? So really, you're just trying to figure out what is the best thing for your business in a point in time. You look at people raising all this money, and it's like, it looks like crazy, and they're getting all this momentum, and you're sitting over here like tapping away, eating your tuna and rice, and it's like, damn, they've got the right thing. But there's so many trade-offs to that side of things that you can't really undo. You've got now a cap table. You've got like formalized things. You've got a burn rate. They expect you to spend the money. Now you've got a burn rate, and it's like, okay, well, when money's running out, do we raise again? There's a whole roadshow. Like, we spent all of yesterday raising. I didn't do a single thing on the business. I was just chatting to investors. That's a trade-off of my time, right? So what is the best thing for your business is always the most important thing, and you'll decide, really, at the end of the day.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, interesting one for me. So in the early stages, I raised from angel investors and just got wiped out from an equity perspective. So that was a really, really clear lesson for me of like how not to raise. So for me, swap. So for me, yeah, I was lucky enough to kind of learn that early on, and I just traded that as my education. So I got paid to learn. So I didn't really care in the end. But I think when the second time around, the number one thing I would 100% advocate for before you even like give a shit about raising or even care about it is there are enough tools out there, no code, AI, whatever it is, for you to build something that gets some product market fit traction. Because I've been in the rooms of two different chats, right? Where the one I've got nothing and I'm just pushing shit up a hill. And they're like, yeah, mate. Like, and I'm going back to the same investor, funny enough, and he's seen me 10 years ago and he's seen me today. So it's a pretty cool journey for myself. But yeah, he saw me trying to push shit up the hill and I had nothing, right? No leverage. And then now that I was able to build Reelim to a point where it's obviously doing good, doing okay, and there is some revenue, I proved that there is product market fit, then yeah, the conversation is 100% different. Like we're getting capital in to help and we have like more of an equal conversation. I just feel like when you go in with just sometimes, again, different perspective because you guys are doing it in a different way, but
please give me money.
It's just, yeah, this is my perspective. Yeah, going in with some sort of traction gives you more leverage, but your leverage is the fact that you sold. Like that's different. For first-time founders, when you haven't got their background, yeah, they're not going to get like it's going to be a lot harder. But they've got runs on the board, so of course it opens up a lot more doors. But for me, it's just like leverage these AI tools, leverage a no-code stack, whatever it is, get it to the point where it's doing X amount, then go and pitch. And I can guarantee you the conversation is a lot more fruitful and a lot more compounding rather than just doing a roadshow with 10 investors and they all say no.
Yeah, awesome. Any questions from the crowd? Yep.
Thanks, Tile AI. Give out a prompt on your way.
Hi guys. So my question is regarding doubt as an early stage founder. Surely you guys have...
Regarding who, sorry?
Doubt.
Oh, doubt, sorry.
Yeah, doubt.
Doubting
so
Thomas.
You guys have a clear vision of what you want to do, but I'm sure along the way there's moments where you do doubt yourself, or whether it's internal or external. So I'm just wondering how you go about navigating that, and transferring stress to the team is one thing, but transferring doubt is another. So how do you go about managing?
That's a good question. That's $1 billion question. Just push it down.
Just like your emotions. Put them in a jar.
Yeah.
Good question. Doubt.
Can I just offer
Yeah,
an
please.
overlay?
Yeah.
You never lose the doubt.
Yeah.
The doubt stays with you every single time.
Yeah.
You get better at understanding that. You're like having a little mental battle. But at the end of the day, every day you have a cycle of like, I'm fucking killing it. And at the end of the day, this is shit. I hate this. Like it is constant. And you have to understand that is literally part of the process. So while you're growing a business, you're also growing as a person. And as a person, that's like the best part about being in business is you get to understand like, there's like this huge emotional component. You've got this doubt and anxiety, and then you've got these emotions that are like, you've got this elation, everything's going well. But you've got to understand there's like this midline. When things are good, they're not as good as you think they are, right? So you actually got to temper that down a bit. Like, we made it, we got that deal. No, we didn't. Like, it's that constant understanding, like, when I'm feeling down, things aren't as bad. When I'm doubting, things aren't as bad. And trying to find this almost like soccer players have this. Like they win the Champions League, they're like, yeah, that's cool. Because they understand like keeping like this, trying to keep as even keel as much as possible allows you to like navigate this huge roller coaster. But to tell you the truth, like even after exiting, everything's great. Next business, doubt's back.
Yeah.
Same thing. You guys are going to get rolled by Google. I'm like, probably, yeah. And it's there, and it's always there, and you just got to kind of get used to like sitting with that. And then it's like it's part of it, right? Like it's part of the story. You were like, there was the down times, and you were doubting, and if you were just confident, everything worked. It would be the boringest fucking story ever. So like, understanding that that's part of it is like one of the most key things.
I think doubt is kind of similar to stress. It's a good thing to have. Now, obviously not be like so doubtful you can't move and do anything, but the reality is like the opposite of that is like a sense of arrogance. And if you're trying to do something that's big and make an impact and you're like, oh, I don't doubt myself at all, it's like, well, that's just like you're delusional, which you also need a little bit of delusion. But I think it's a way to, again to Jacques' point there, is like we've been bouncing this between us a lot over the last week. And the reason is because we're like, okay, there's a sense of doubt, and then that helps us check, like, why do we have the doubt? Okay, what can we do to make that doubt like feel like it's gonna go away? And because you're using that to strengthen. It's the same as like when you get that nervous energy to do something. Well, the reason that is because you're scared because you've never done it, and you need that like keeps you on your toes. And so I think it's the big one there that Jacques talked about is like it doesn't go away, but it's like how you manage and work through that, because that's where it will feel the best on the other side. Like it's only rewarding because you were like, oh, I doubted it. Or the one that's like, this is a bit of a sicko thing, but it's just truth. Like Jacques and I have been talking like with a screenshot, like, oh, someone else said like Google's gonna roll you, and he's like, fucking oath, like it's like put that in a jar, like because it's like you're like there's a bit of, sometimes you just need the fuel you've got, and that fuel is a bit of like a, I'll show you energy. And I know some people might be like, oh, that's toxic. It's like, yeah, cool, that's fine. But some things you sometimes need a little bit of something to get you to that next level. And if no one's doubting you, you're probably not doing something big enough. If you're not doubting yourself, you're probably not pushing yourself further enough.
Yeah, I think that's the same.
Flip that up.
Flip that up. I think, look, there's doubt every day. I'm not gonna lie. I think there's doubt. We had a
4-hour doubt board meeting
yesterday, right? So it doesn't ever.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Electromagnetic field around it. Yeah, it doesn't go away. But I think, just to Frank's point, what do you use, like, for me, what am I doubting, right? And then I use that as a source of finding out. I just go really deep into like, I'm feeling doubtful about this, and this. And then I say, cool, what's in my control, out of my control, right? And that's really the difference, because the ones that go out of my control, I have to let it go. Figma launching fucking Figma sites with AI fucking this and this and this and this. Yeah, could do anything. Out of my control. Dan creating an awesome experience that is 10x deeper into how you build a website versus just the one-shot prompt. Yeah, I can control that with the team, and I can help influence the team and get confident around that. So that's why I use doubt as a way to separate into the controllables and the non-controllables. And then what you start to realize is that sometimes 8 out of the 10 doubts are uncontrollable, so you can just park them and just focus on the ones that you can control.
Nice.
Take that one.
Well done.
Clip that one.
Clip that up again. And I mean, also with the ones you can control, I think the fact that we're in Australia and we talked about tall poppy syndrome, and there is always going to be doubt for the founders in this room. One thing that's good is actually getting used to using doubt as the motivator. Since we know that being in Australia, we're going to get it anyways. May as well use that as a motivation. We had one more question. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. Sorry. Yeah. Fuck.
It's right, don't worry.
Okay, you were pretty good.
Yeah, we'll forget that in the
I was so close. I was on camera.
Hey guys, really enjoying the discussion, so thank you for that.
Oh, pleasure.
I have a question around this idea of choosing your competitor versus choosing your product.
Love that.
You guys have touched on it a few times, like Google's going to wipe us out and Figma, etc. You guys are building quite a technically challenging product, it sounds like, so the product is a big thing, but how do you think about your competitors and choosing who you go to war with?
It's such a freaking good question, and a really wise business guy said to me at the end. So he'd built two companies. One was a very boring, unsexy print manufacturer, but he became like the largest in Australia. And the other one was like a fintech, cool. He exited one, and the other one was a capital machine. And he said to me over a coffee, he said, Frank, I've now come to the realization it's equally as important to choose your competitors as it is to choose your product. And why is that? Because the sexy thing, like everybody wants to get into it. The unsexy thing, no one's even thinking about it. And so when Jacques and I started this journey like last July to go like, what is it that we want to tackle? We started like uncovering things that are like, wow, that's boring. Like, let's tackle that. Like, imagine how much fun we could have with those competitors. Here's the realist version of why we didn't choose that. It wasn't exciting to us individually. And so the thing about like business is it's going to be extremely hard. And so, and when you know that, you then know, okay, like what is going to be my motivator and driver through those hard times? And so for us, we were just like, we can get into that, but am I going to be really enthusiastic? And am I going to be proud of it? And it's not saying those unsexy things aren't like, they can't be enthusiastic, you can't be proud, but like us as individuals, we were like, it's just not going to light our fire. And the reality is like the thing we were balancing as like second-time founders is like one of the worries that we threw to each other was like, if things get too hard this time, do we just go, fuck it, I got money, I'm good, who cares, just close down the doors? And we're like, we had to keep that in the front of mind, but like, well, it's got to be something then that really lights our fire. So I don't know if that specifically answers. I think it's a genuinely good strategy. I think a lot of people are crushing it. I think there's so much cool opportunity to like do deep verticals. There's if anybody's seen those like window cleaners in the US, just absolutely crushing it, the sickest brand. I think you can make it amazing, but you have to find like, is the thing not necessarily the industry going to light my fire, but am I going to get things that are going to light my fire? Because that's going to help you through the process, personally.
So I would say like first-time founder, you don't want to go up against somebody.
Yeah,
right?
Don't do what we're doing.
You want to be a big fish in the smallest pond you can find, and you want to fucking get in that pond and ruin everyone. Like that is it. You choose the competition that you can absolutely crush. But then for us, like we have this sicko thing. We love like the David and Goliath story. Like we taking on people that like people say to you, you can't do that. It creates like an excitement and momentum and the reason to try it. I would not recommend that for anyone who's just starting out because you are playing against really well-resourced people. So it's very like person dependent, like resource dependent, things like that. Yeah.
Right. Do we have any more questions? Yep.
Hello. We've talked about tall copy and sort of the emotional, psychological challenges that Aussie firms will face. But what about from a business climate, even politically, like what are the things that all of us will face over the next 2 to 3 years from your perspective?
Here we go. Good question. I think, you know what's interesting about like the political climate? I always try and avoid as much as I can about politics because that just seems to be the place where I, one, don't know too much and so people will roast me, and number two, people get angry. But here I'll go and I'll tackle it. So here's the like, I don't know, during the time that we've been started our first business and this business, like governments come in and out of, the left, the right, whatever. Often the things that they're changing, like mostly it doesn't have this humongous crazy impact. Like unless you're in something that's like government money dependent or you're in like direct property and they've changed something that makes the property prices go crazy. So I think like from a political environment, like the reality of like where we've been and where we're going, like there's still so much in your control. So like all I would be thinking about is if I was going into something that was like required like fiscal policy, like that I might be nervous about. But if you're like most businesses that aren't government, like you just have so much in your control. In terms of like the environment, like how things shape and change, like one of the things I do think a lot about is like the geopolitics. Oh fuck, I'm getting dangerous here. Like the landscape and how it shifts and changes for Australia specifically. Again, I'm not genuinely concerned, but like Australia has like an obsession with property, and that's really good. Has been really good down to the individual over a long period of time. Why is that? Because the individual can put money in and they can make money because it seems to just keep going up forever, whatever. but it means that we're tying up a lot of our capital into that. And so it's incredibly easy to go get yourself a 40-year loan from a bank to get a mortgage, but go ask for $5,000 loan from a bank for a business, and they're like, oh, are you sure? Like, and it's like we literally couldn't get a loan when we were doing like $2 million revenue from a bank for like 50 grand. Like it was, so that to me is the biggest challenge, but I think you can still navigate through it. And I think it's more around, it's just like, that is why like creating, which is a really long-term thing, like an environment where like entrepreneurs thrive and like kind of changing that mindset and that culture. Because Australia, like pound for pound, like we do have a lot of great entrepreneurs for how small our country is. I don't have anything else like tactile, like, I don't know if you want to add anything there, but
from the government? Yeah. Just give us startup grants so we don't have to pay BAS and payroll tax so we can get ahead. That's the only thing I advocate for.
Does everyone know about payroll tax?
Give us something to get us ahead. Like, give us some sort of rebate to allow us to, because we're hired 25 people and I get punished. I don't understand it. I've hired 25 people and I get punished. But that's it. Yeah, we're going down an interesting path.
All right, time for 2 last questions.
Oh no, we've got to make a choice. Oh no.
And I think she put her hand up before, so.
Yeah, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Roasting.
Okay, I have 2 businesses, one service-based and one product-based. I'm at the point now where I'm starting to see real potential in the product-based one, and it's taking off a lot quicker than my service-based one did. In your experience, do you think that product-based businesses are more successful or grow faster than a service-based business?
That is exactly the path that all 3 of us has gone through. We all started in services and then moved to something like product or tech because it's more scalable. But the services is so good to inform all the decisions. So that starting point is like the perfect place. But what you'll find is you've got this capital coming in from services, perfect. There is a tipping off point. There is a tipping off point. You've got to bet on one horse, and I'd bet on the product just purely because of scalability. So like it's an easy decision, but making the right timing. And then obviously you've got a business, like what do you do with the services business? You can either sell it or you can do a JV where you're a silent partner. There's a lot of options there, but we all did exactly that. We bet on the product.
Yeah, nothing else to add.
No, that's good.
Talia, you choose the last person, lucky last.
No pressure.
Hey gents, my name's Matt. Thanks for all the great questions today as well. I think it's been a really interesting conversation. My question is on the balance between the use of AI and the human element. Obviously you're all building businesses in the AI space, but then you speak a lot about the human element, and I listen to, and I'm sure a lot of people listen to the same things I listen to, but it was an interesting conversation between Stephen Bartlett and Simon Sinek recently about how we're moving towards this loss of human connection. And I see a lot of your content, Aria. I've seen a bit of your
Oh, shout out Tal AI. Tal AI.
It's so interesting, and it's something that I've been playing around with for a couple of years as well. And I've recently come to this moment where I'm starting to question how much I'm using AI, how much input I'm having as me, as a human, creatively or productively, or for whatever it is you're using it for. How are you all managing, or how are you balancing how you're using AI while also maintaining your, humanity or personality?
I think the most important thing to recognize is like, what is my humanity? Like it's not doing long division. It's not writing. It's a much more intangible thing. So we'll outsource everything to AI so that we can do stuff like this, right? Which is real person-to-person contact, which AI can't do. So that's the most important part about this like human experience. It's actually like interacting with other people. But in terms of using AI to like augment this, like we're in a time where everyone really should be going in, I think, quite hard onto the AI, like into this world where everything becomes almost effortless. You give it 2 dot points, you get something out, you take it over here, you get something back. It's just like you can orchestrate so much more output using AI. And if you held back by like, oh, well, what's it mean to be human? What's my input in this? It will actually stop you from being what a human is. It's like an orchestrator, right? Like I'm using cursor to code. I haven't written a line of code. It is the AI doing it. But I'm there knowing like what I want to get out of this. Like I want to get this out, and what's the purpose for a customer? That's what the human layer is. Like what is a customer going to want? A customer won't like that experience. Like I'm using my input to then use the AI to like do the heavy lifting, right? Boring code. But like the human component, it's the creativity. You know what the end output needs to be. You're an orchestrator of a lot of different tools. But like we've always used tools to make us more efficient and have like keep the wheel moving. Like instead of getting stuck and sitting there for ages and going, how do I solve this problem? It's like, can AI solve this problem? Just keep me going so I can do things fast. And I'm delighted by that speed, and that's like exciting. Then I show someone and they're like, I'll change this, and there's that. That's the human process for me. So I think it's just really what is it about being a human that you want to hold on to, the key.
Okay, so I spend way too much time thinking about this that question, so I was itching to get answer it. Couple of things. So number one, I think there's like a real opportunity for businesses over the next couple of years to double down on what it means to be human. So why did the Founders Table get created? One of the questions Jacques and I asked ourselves was, it's 5 or 10 years from today, what is critically important and what will not change? What can AI not affect? And we were like, human connection. Like in the room, humans, like that will never be, as far as I'm aware, like that can't change it. But what is it? It's like this intangible, it's like the feeling you can create. And so we're like, okay, we're gonna create that. You know, in line with a tech product, but that's what we're gonna create. And so I think what's gonna happen, I believe, is the more these tools come out, the simpler it is to do things. People become reliant on them. It's like one of the things I noticed is I almost get no phone calls these days because everybody's so used to like DMing and messaging and that kind of stuff, because you kind of become almost lazy and you've dropped to that form factor, and there lies the opportunity. So as these tools become easier, some people will become lazier. And so the opportunity lies here for businesses to like double down on customer experience. And customer experience isn't an email to say, hey, Susie Jane, how you going? It's like, what can I do to like drop in and create a feeling and create that magic to create raving fans that AI cannot do? So it's like, that's to me, I believe is like a really big opportunity. Secondly is like, okay, how do you interface with it? Jacques just mentioned there's like, you know, leverage it for everything, which is the truth. However, what I see a lot of people doing is they just rely on it for the end, for everything, for the whole output. So they give it 3 lines. You know, my current example that happens to me a lot is like, there's this guy, Frank, I'm about to DM him on Instagram. Can you write me a long sentence? And then they go and just copy it and paste it. I'm like, fucking hell, like I can tell immediately this is not done by a human, and I'm immediately unclicking from that, because what does that tell me about you? You're lazy. Right? Just being honest. And that's what other people will see signals. So instead of just being reliant on it, you use it as like a co-founder, as a collaborator to push yourself and remain curious. So you're not like put in an input, get an output, copy paste, move on. You're trying to like work with it to get better. So like at the moment, like we've been doing obviously our pitch deck. It's our VC capital raise is like the important thing that's happening right now. On the weekend, I spent maybe 8 hours on that pitch deck. Now, I use AI through the entire process, from second one to the end. However, had I not used AI, it would have taken me 8 hours. So it didn't save me. It wasn't about the efficiency, it was the productivity. It was the end outcome was far better. And so I think that's where people get wrong. If you just rely on it, like copy, paste, move on, it's going to be sloppy. But more importantly, like maybe it's amazing, but then you're not learning. So like use it more as like a learning tool, be curious. Like if I look and reflect, and I'll talk nicely about Jacques while he's here. If I reflect on, I left for a holiday 3-4 weeks ago, and I've come back, and Jacques like, there's like a new sense of fire that's inside him. And he's been talking about all these like deep technical things. And I'm like, fuck me dead. Well, I shouldn't say that, but anyway. What's happened in 4 weeks, he's learnt so much. Why is that? Because he's remained incredibly curious and is interfacing with it. And it's not just about like, do it for me. It's asking it questions and teaching it. Like that's how you should be interfacing. All right, sorry, that was a very passionate delivery.
Yeah, I think most importantly, you just leveraging it, not only from a personal level, but I think from a product perspective as well. You want to have that same lens for your user, right? So when you're developing any AI features or however you want to go about it, you want to do it in a way that enables the user to now do more, or save time, and now they can do more, or now you've extended their skill set, so whenever they are now going to their boss, they can now do this instead of this. So just from a product perspective, always think about how you can enable them and extend them and make them look like superstars and rock stars into their own team.
Nice.
All right, awesome. So I know there were a couple more hands up, but you guys will get a chance to ask these boys questions as we move around the room. And yeah, if you have any questions, we'll come up, we'll walk around. Also, if you have any feedback about the event today, I'd love to hear it. Always want to improve these because we're going to keep doing more of these fireside chats. Also, shout out Ash from Brew Boy Donuts. He's brought some donuts over, delicious donuts over there. So if you guys want to eat some donuts, make yourself coffee, tea, go there. Just give yourself a round of applause because this is awesome, guys. One last word of philosophy from Frank.
I just want to say again, like, thanks guys so much for coming here today. Like, it's really cool to see the human on the other end. Like, we're really passionate about where this is all going over the next 5 years. And I think if you take away from one thing today is like, this is going to grow and get bigger, and like something is going to materially change over the next few years in Australia and the entrepreneurship community, and fucking frothing that you guys came. So thank you.
Yeah.